Happy, fantastic, beautiful Friday across Saint Croix. Hope you're doing great and getting off to a great start for your weekend. This is the last weekend before Election Day, Monday, October 21st. I knocked on a lot of doors in St. Andrews today. Some people didn't exactly know when the election was. And so it was important for me to help them with a plan to vote. But today I want to continue in one of our last few videos because this is of crucial importance to how you live, where you live, and as I knock doors across the four municipalities in Saint Croix, whether you're in Campobello, St. Stephen, St. Andrews, or Macadam, uh, the management of your municipality and how it interfaces with the political government and ultimately your MLA and the performance of your MLA makes a huge difference across the province, and it varies from riding to riding, but it is important to your quality of life. And that's why I want to sound the bell here, because as I've been saying, the Union of Municipalities of New Brunswick has been sounding the alarm on shortfalls and what the municipalities need. Basically, the UMNB is a collection of all the municipalities across this province coming together with one voice so that they can advocate the provincial government. This is why MLAs across the ridings need to pay particular attention to the reports and to any kind of communication coming out of the UMNB, because they have their finger on the pulse of the needs of the people. And so, as I mentioned yesterday, they came out with the Dialogue for Action, a very reader-friendly 5 recommendations that they want MLAs to be paying attention to. I saw an interview with the president of UMNB, watched that, and he said they want to be communicating with the new MLAs or the newly elected MLAs, former MLAs, whatever the government structure looks like starting next week after the election. We need to be listening to that. But the other key piece that came out of UMNB recently, and that's what I want to share with you, is a report called Toward a New Fiscal Framework for New Brunswick Municipalities. It is a report that was written by Dr. Craig Brett. I did mention this to you yesterday. I want to read directly from the report. What was the point of this report? And here's something you should know as somebody who lives in St. Croix and as a New Brunswicker. The report says here, the purpose of the report: New Brunswick's municipal restructuring of 2023. Maybe you've heard about it. That's the boundary line redrawing. It was a significant shift in who does what in the province, including a shifting traditionally provincial responsibilities to municipally financed regional commissions. So this was major. If you thought you knew how the world works, i.e. New Brunswick works, and had a grasp on that, things radically changed last year. But the report goes on, at the same time, the questions of who taxes what and who pays for what in the long term were left to one side. That's very bad news. Whatever long-term fiscal relationship comes into being, because that has yet to happen, will have to be an effective and fair way to divide the bill for municipal services. It will also need to respond to pressures that arose before restructuring and to be resilient to future events. And this is where I want to talk to you today about what this report essentially sounds the alarm on, is when all the municipalities get together and essentially take an inventory of their infrastructure. And as I said, there's that scary word, but that basically means roads and bridges and signage and hospital buildings and schools and things like that the municipality is responsible for building and having in place for its citizens. What they are seeing is that collectively there is a $200 million annual shortfall. So that means there's a certain number of building, an amount of building and maintenance that needs to happen, and we are seeing a $200 shortfall in revenue, and that gap is happening year over year over year. And that is in addition to the $2.5 billion deficit that already exists. So if you add up all the projects that need upgrading and need funding, it is $2.5 billion. Again, that sounds like a staggering amount of money, but you need to remember we have a getting close to $14 billion of revenue every year from the tax base, from federal transfers. That is the total budget of New Brunswick. And again, if you think we're broke, it is important to remember that we are paying less than 5% on servicing interest from existing provincial debt. So yes, we have debt, but we've talked about this in other videos before. I'm not mitigating the importance of paying down the debt by any means, but when you think less than 5% of our total budget goes to paying down interest on the debt, we don't want to be digging ourselves into a hole and see that grow much bigger. But when we have things like EAs in schools, as happened across Anglophone South School District last Friday. 60, I believe, EAs were just walked out the door and told their contracts are coming to an end. And we have people not able to get doctors and nurse practitioners. And when we are not seeing improvements in police services, and when we're told we can't have a courthouse or Campbell can't have a ferry because there's no money, and now you add this, the municipal government saying, how are we going to pave roads and fix bridges and help out with crumbling school grounds and things like that? You have a situation where a government that is campaigning on cutting 2% of sales tax is a travesty, especially because 4 recommendations have come out of this report, the one that I just described to you from UMNB, and what they would like to see when they do all the math, it really makes sense mathematically to do what Quebec and Saskatchewan did. This is similar. I'm just going to pause that thought and say, you'll remember how I talked about how the New Brunswick Medical Society recommended before the budget this year that $600 million, again, out of 13 plus billion, 600 million will bring our medical system up to standard, namely making sure that patient charts are electronic. Right now, they are still paper. We are so that far behind in New Brunswick that charts have to be physically carried from one place to another. This is why medical staff and medical professionals cannot speak to each other. That's part of the siloing. That's one of the things that Greens want to break through. So this is like that in the sense of $600 million for that would fix things. 1%, okay? So here's what the UMNB is recommending and asking for. 1% of the 15% of HST that the government uses as revenue, 1% of that, Quebec and Saskatchewan do this, is allocated to be distributed among the municipalities to make up that shortfall. So municipalities are collecting their own taxes, but a provincial transfer, remember I just said, lines were redrawn, things were expanded, redundancies were eliminated. But when I knock on doors, especially in our more rural areas, again, we are 100% rural as a riding in Saint Croix, but our more rural areas, they are not seeing the services that they need, but they are seeing their taxes going up. And so there's lots of conversation around that. 1% of the HST distributed to all the provinces would fill that gap, that $200 gap, that $200 million annual gap that municipalities are feeling. That would be covered by 1%. Again, Quebec is doing this, Saskatchewan is doing this. We need to have the political will to make life better for the municipalities. And when they do an extensive study like this and make a recommendation that makes sense, we need to see a government that prioritizes taking up those recommendations, and we will feel it as residents of this province. I want to bring this closer to home. The riding next door, I talk a lot about Andrea Anderson Mason. Here's something that happened on Facebook that I just want to bring to your attention. It is an example of, I've said before, I commit to being the kind of MLA that Andrea Anderson Mason was in Fundy, the Isles West St. John next door. This was on her Facebook page. You'll see earlier this year. And it caught my attention because I was running, but it gave me an indication of the kind of work that an MLA does. It says the road ahead is a plan first released in 2022. The first thing I noticed, this is Andrea's post, was that the Fundy Isles were completely left out on upgrades to road infrastructure. I addressed it with then Minister Jill Green. Fast forward to her replacement, Minister Jeff Carr, with the assistance of Bonnie Morris, Mayor of Grand Manan, Councillor Jordy Layton, and CAO Chris Rayner. We lobbied to emphasize the importance of island infrastructure. Jeff Carr didn't just listen, he visited the islands to see it. He provided funding for a full review. As a result, the province and Grand Manan have a new working relationship where they're taking control of their maintenance, and you're seeing significant upgrades to the roads on Deer Island. And it's this line, folks: "Don't worry, Campobello. I'm pretty sure your work is on the horizon." Now, she said that because she, again, noticed that the Fundy Isles are left out. Campobello is considered one of the islands, but the way that our electorate is divided, Campobello falls under Saint Croix. Yes, the same Campobello that needs a ferry. They were left off of this work, but Andrea Anderson Mason is the kind of MLA that reads the road ahead plan, catches it, and goes to work advocating, bringing people together for her riding. And as a result, you see improvements on Graham and Ann and Deer Island. And frankly, Andrea said, "I'm pretty sure your work is on the horizon." I have looked into it. I'm not going to make any concrete statements here, but I looked into the report. You can go to the link. You can see the road ahead plan and where work is being done. It's probably tiny on your screen. There's little blips on Deer Island. There's little blips at Letite. There's little blips on Grand Manan. You can see all these pink lines. If you can make it out on your phone, zoom in. St. Stephen and the St. Andrews Peninsula, there's work being done. But I circled Campobello because that is the one conspicuous place on the map where in the next few years, the plan, you're not seeing infrastructural upgrades. And I would say again, this is where, friends, an MLA who's doing the work makes a huge difference. And it's why I say I aspire to be the kind of MLA that Andrea Anderson Mason has been for her riding. Sadly, she is not running again, and regardless of politics, this you want your best person in the role of MLA, and I'm knocking on a lot of doors where people say to me, "You're clearly the strongest candidate, Mark, but." And it's that but. I mean, we need to stop there, friends. If we're going to stop shooting ourselves in the foot in St. Croix, you got to stop looking at the partisan politics. People say they're tired of the partisan politics, but well, the strategic vote and the splitting and the this and the party and are you going to work well with John Williamson and et cetera, et cetera. Um, Cast your vote boldly, or we're going to get more of the same. And I say that as a resident. You can see the video farther down on this Facebook page of what I said at Meet the Candidates. You need an MLA that is strongly working for this riding. I have a lot of hope. And in ridings where you see MLAs working like this, it literally means roads are paved, culverts are installed, buildings are not crumbling, bridges are getting repaired. That is the kind of MLA we need in St. Croix, and that I commit to being for you. I think I'm going to leave it there. Way over time. I've just given up on the 5 minutes. You can see that. I think there's a couple of videos left at least. I'm literally trying to figure out what I'm allowed and not allowed to do on Monday, election day. I'm hearing opinions about it. Oh, you can canvas, you can't canvas. You can make a video. No, you can't do social media. So we have at least 2 left by my understanding. I'm going to go out now and knock on more doors in St. Stephen. That's why I'm doing the video right now at 3 in the afternoon. I was in St. Andrews today, St. Stephen this afternoon. Campobello, I'm coming to knock on your doors tomorrow on Wilson's Beach. Want to meet more residents there. And it is looking like a beautiful weekend to be out. I cannot wait for Monday, and I cannot wait to serve you next week as MLA. Have a great rest of your day, and join us again. I'm going to put this on your radar. Monday, we are watching the election results at 51 King Street in St. Stephen at our campaign office together because we are expecting good news. We'll be together regardless, but I'm pretty sure it'll turn into a party. Have a great rest of your day. See you before Monday, but